Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that we can see that there's a court case that is coming back up into focus. And this is the Brunson case. And the plaintiff is Raylan Brunson. And they brought it up, and the Supreme Court said we're not going to listen to it. But they're bringing it up again, and they're seeing if the Supreme Court is going to listen to it. So Just the News put out a very interesting article, and they said, a rigged election is equivalent to war since both put into power a victor. And this is an argument coming from the plaintiff. The Supreme Court now is set to reconsider whether to hear a lawsuit alleging Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, former Vice President Mike Pence, 291 House members and 94 senators violated their oaths of office by refusing to investigate evidence of fraud in the 2020 election before certifying Biden as the victor on January 6th, allowing for Biden and Harris to be fraudulently inaugurated. So in this petition for reconsideration, Brunson argues that there must be a penalty for violating oaths of office or else they are not binding. Now that's very, very interesting because all these people took an oath. And when we start to look around the country and we start to see the CDC, the FDA, the FBI, corrupt politicians, they violate their oath. What is the penalty? Because remember, to take office, they swore an oath to uphold the Constitution and to defend it, which means the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, all the amendments, everything that's said in there. So if they went ahead and they violated their oath, shouldn't something happen? If we look at it, I do believe, yes, this is very, very important. Because if you swear an oath and there's a contract between the people where the people have the Constitution and the rights, and the government official is swearing and saying, yes, I will defend this, and they violate what's in the Constitution, don't we have a problem? Because if there's no penalties, if there's nothing, then what's the meaning of all this? Really think about that for a second. Trump responded to this and said, true, such a big and important concept. It is a very big and important concept. I know a lot of people looking at the Brunson case, there's no case there. But when you look at it in this fashion, you really have to think to yourself, because if all these individuals who are elected into these positions, they swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and they break that oath, and they break the contract, shouldn't there be penalties? Should they be removed from office? Should something happen? I do believe there should be something. And we're going to have to see how this all plays out, because this is going to be very, very interesting. Because when you start to look at everything and you start to see what's happening here, it all revolves around the Constitution, doesn't it? Because cheating in the election, it's the Constitution. Violating your First Amendment, it's the Constitution. It's your rights. Violating the Second Amendment, it's the Constitution. It's your rights. So all these people, the governors, the mayors, all these people that knowingly do all of this, they're violating the people's rights. And I think this is a very, very important issue. And I do believe the people are waking up to this, and people are starting to realize that, yeah, well, what does this all mean if you're not held accountable? I mean, really think about that. Yes, you could take it to the next step that these people are treasonous. The people overthrew the United States government, overthrew the duly elected president. We're dealing with foreign entities. But if you just go back to the basics, this case right here makes sense. And actually, when you start to look at the Twitter files, when you start to look at the House investigations, and you start to look at all of this, there has to be some type of accountability for this. Yes, we can go further and prove that these people were criminals, but we need to start at the basics right now, don't we? And I think that's where we are. I think now people are starting to realize and understand, saying, wait a minute, you broke your first oath. I mean, forget about everything else, but I don't mean forget it like we're not going to look at it. I mean, let's start from the beginning. You put your hand on a Bible, you swore to uphold the Constitution and to defend it. And that means that you are backing the founding fathers, you're backing what the Constitution says, and you're defending each one of these rights. Every time that you push a law, every time that you violate the Constitution knowingly, we have a problem with these people. We have a problem in this country then. And which means a lot of these individuals might have to be removed from their position. So let's take this a step further. What happens if the Supreme Court decides to hear one of these cases? I'm not saying it's going to hear this case. And all of a sudden it decides that, yes, there has to be penalties. we must hold these people accountable if they don't follow through on their oath. Should they be removed? Should they be put in jail? Should the laws that they pass be reversed? Really think about this for a second. I do believe this is where we are headed. And the people are learning about all of this. And I do believe with this, we can move